concerned should we be about the safety of our lawmakers? And does this kind of inflammatory language, calling the new Chancellor a bastard, what does that do to our politics? Tory MP Michael Fabricant, just 2 weeks ago, was ambushed by protesters outside Tory party conference. Take a look. Welcome to hell. Well, Michael Fabricant, MP, joins me now. Michael, can you tell me your emotions as you faced that level of harassment, simply going about your daily duties and attending conference?
Well, I have to say that event was actually not as bad as what happened earlier on. The police had directed me right into the middle of a packed crowd of demonstrators who'd come down on the Sunday. I mean, funnily enough, they weren't there on the Monday or the Tuesday, but on the Sunday, and they'd come up from London, they'd come down from Glasgow. In fact, hardly anyone actually seemed to be from Birmingham, where the actual demonstration was taking place. It was at the Conservative Party conference. And I was directed right into the middle there. There were people blasting my ear with plastic hooters and things. In fact, it got so bad, I said to one guy, look, will you stop following me? He was right up to my ear. And in the end, I grabbed the plastic hooter and I thought, oh, no, I better not break it in half. I'll be done for criminal damage. I'll just chuck the thing away. And I did. And then I was confronted by that little twerp who actually I didn't find particularly threatening. I mean, I think what happened was that because he saw the cameras, he suddenly started dancing around me. But, you know, I wasn't the only one who was put in this position. Others were too. But, you know, your monologue is spot on, because the sort of thing that people say and do on social media is now becoming what people think they can say and do in reality. And it's plain wrong.
Indeed. I mean, what about that language, that very inflammatory language from a famous comedy actress, Miriam Margolyes, saying F you to the Chancellor and using the B word about him? I mean, what does that do for the national discourse?
Well, it does very little for the national discourse. I mean, the reality of it is, I heard the programme and spoke to someone about, she actually got stuck in her chair. So the interview had ended. She couldn't get out of her chair. And for want of anything else to say, she said what she said, which I know rather shocked the two presenters. But, you know, you're dead right. If a Conservative said that about a Labour person, they would be castigated. And if they were a Conservative actor or a Conservative-leaning actor, that would be the end of that career. But instead, oh, it's just dear old Miriam Margolyes. You know, she's overweight, gets stuck in her chair, and she can be forgiven for saying anything. But that sort of language and that sort of behaviour brings on all the sort of things that frankly led to David Amess's death only 12 months ago today.
And the concern is that people considering going into politics might think twice now after looking at how you're treated, how other MPs are treated, and the tragic murder of David Amess. We want the best people in public life, but frankly, who would be an MP in 2022, Michael?
Well, what's lovely is the way I get treated in Lichfield. I mean, people are fond of me in Lichfield, at least. They're actually very fond of me in Birmingham. It's only when I walk straight into the middle of a demo. But you are right, because there's a serious aspect to this. One MP said to me a few months ago, when you actually look, this sounds terrible, but when you actually look at the death rate of MPs, there are only 650, it is one of the most dangerous jobs that currently exists. And that's not the way it should be in public life. I shouldn't need to have a policeman come out and help me get into the party conference. As I say, I don't think the policing, the West Midlands policing round the Conservative Party conference was the best. I mean, they're very good at separating rival football fans, so why on earth they were directing delegates to the Conservative Party conference, including MPs, right into the middle of a rather noisy, hostile demonstration? I do not know. But anyway, thank you to the two policemen wearing their blue jackets who came out and rescued me from the little twerplet who was dancing around me like a ballet dancer, hurling abuse.
Well, physical harassment of politicians and daily abuse online has become the norm, and it's not acceptable. Not on my watch, Michael. It's appalling. I've seen the pelters that you get day in, day out, and free speech is one thing, and downright abuse is another. But I know you've got a thick skin. Before I let you go, has Liz Truss got a thick skin?
I mean, one of the things... Sorry to interrupt you, Mark, but one of the things I now subscribe to a thing called Tweet Maps. I say subscribe, it's actually free. And it tells you where your followers are. Ooh. And I'm thinking, God, I'm really, really unpopular. And then I think, now hang on for a minute, only 2.5% of my followers are actually from Lichfield. In fact, I've got 3 followers in Kazakhstan. I don't know whether they're any other people, but I've got a huge amount in Scotland, a huge amount in North London, where no doubt Miriam Margolyes is bashing away under another pseudonym, you know, against me. So frankly, I take it all with a pinch of salt. But as I said earlier, the problem is, while I take it with a pinch of salt, there are some rather needy people out there who may look at this sort of thing and believe, you know what, we can do this on social media, we can do it in reality too. And that's all wrong. And look at the way J.K. Rowling was treated, just for stating the obvious.
Stating the obvious is absolutely right. Well, Michael, I have heard you've got a big following, so I'm glad you've confirmed it. Before you go, Liz Truss, how long's she got, Michael?
Well, I'm going to stay tuned in because I want to find out from your expert. But I'm hoping, look, I mean, I think the Conservative Party would be absolutely mad. They were mad to get rid of Boris. If they start to say they've got to get rid of Liz Truss, they'll be even madder. But, you know, there are some panicky people out there. But, you know, I say they don't like it up 'em, do they? And, you know, they've got to hang on in there. Look, I hope Liz Truss lasts until the next general election. This isn't like, some people say, oh, it's going to be like 1997. Keir Starmer is not like Tony Blair. I can tell you, if you look at all the qualitative polling, people think Starmer is boring, they think he doesn't stand for anything, and they think actually he's one of the most tedious politicians there is. And who's his deputy? Angela Rayner. Dare I say any more? So look, if we can just hold ourselves together in the Conservative Party and start delivering a good economic plan, which I know you've got your reservations about Jeremy Hunt, and as a good Brexiteer, I had my reservations at some points too. But, you know, the guy was a businessman, and I think he will do well for this country in this impossible time. I mean, who would have thought there would be a war in Europe and getting out of COVID, first time a pandemic in 100 years. So watch this space. I'm hoping your expert's going to say she's going to go, just like Margaret Thatcher once said, on and on and on.